Guy, welcome to the podcast. Guy White is the founder and CEO of Catalyx, an innovation technology company transforming how global brands build products that win. After a decade inside leading CPGs, he saw innovation was slow, costly, and intuition led. He founded Catalyx to fix that, combining consumer insight, behavioral science, and AI into one platform that identifies, shapes, and validates the best ideas. Catalyx Canvas turns data into validated, shelf-ready concepts in a fraction of the time and cost. Its pre-MVP, minimum viable product, framework generated 800K in just 4 weeks, with proof of concept talks underway with companies like PepsiCo, Rocket, and others. Like Salesforce for CRM, Catalyx aims to be the system of record for innovation, helping companies launch better products faster with less waste. So first and foremost, tell me how you got started with this industry.
Yeah, so I was client side, first of all. I used to work at Procter Gamble as a marketer. And this is going back quite a while now. So 14 years we've been doing Catalyx. And I just get super frustrated with the kind of agency support that I got from the big agencies working, and I felt that we could do it better, right? So we started doing things kind of at the cross section of consumer research and innovation development 14 years ago, and have just built things from there, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword in a sense where you have this idea, you have this company, you want to get started, but you don't have any money to get started. And you're trying to be as efficient and cost-friendly as possible. And sometimes the barrier to even give it a shot is just way too high. So
Yeah.
explain to me explain to me how you're different than a typical company doing what you do.
So I think we were different because we sat right at the cross section of consumer research and creative development. So typically in our industry, you have all the researchers on one side of the fence, all the creative agencies on the other side of the fence, and they kind of hate each other. They're a bit like oil and water, and we sit kind of in the middle, particularly when it comes to product innovation. So developing new ideas for new products. Where we're different now is this innovation that we've come up with, Catalyx Canvas, which is that we've put AI through everything that we do. So developing a new product that's going to sit on a supermarket shelf, that historically is a process that takes 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a couple of years. And Canvas can now do it in 5 minutes. So it's
That's
totally
crazy.
transforming the way that you can think about how you develop future products.
Yeah, and the buzzword of AI is being found in, it's like slap in the word blockchain, slap on the word AI
Yeah.
onto your company, and you sound like you're edgy and you're living in the future. But the truth is, AI is really at its infancy, and to some capacity can kind of create more problems than it fixes.
Yeah.
It's like having this drunk elf beside you tripping over and every time you give it a task. And so explain to me kind of this paradox of AI.
Yeah, I like to think of it like I have a 7-year-old daughter, and technically she could drive my car. But I don't let her drive my car because she doesn't know the rules of the road, and that would be petrifying for all concerned. And to your point, it's like the drunk elf. Like any fool can open up AI and say, "Hey, design me the future of beer," and it'll tell you what it thinks the future of beer is, but it won't be right. And the concern that I'm seeing right now is a lot of clients actually are using AI to develop the future of whatever their industry is, but it takes an expert to understand how to build innovation or how to build anything. And I think that's the same in my industry, but it's the same everywhere. And it's so convincing, and it flatters you. It tells you you're right. It makes you feel good that you feel
That
you're right.
annoys
And
me so much.
I, I,
It's
I
so
I now
agreeable.
have
I hate it.
I now have prompts that tell it to be brutally honest to me, to like tell it to be mean to me, tell me I'm wrong,
Yeah.
because I agree. Like otherwise it just fluffs your ego. And so
That's a
you
great
have to
question.
realize that. Yeah,
Is it really a great question? I
I
thought
know.
it was a stupid question. Right.
Exactly. Thanks so much. You're so amazing. Thank you. You're like, am I? You know.
Yeah.
So I think it can really take you down the garden path if you're not careful.
Yeah, 100%. So explain to me how you're using AI right.
So how we're using it right, a lot of trial and error to make sure that our prompts are evidence backed, that it doesn't hallucinate, that it gives that it doesn't just flatter our egos, and that it kind of directs everything in the right direction. So that's just been brute force, working very hard to double check all of the prompt structures that we put through. I'd say the other thing we do is we've audited, all the LLMs are different. They all have different strengths, different weaknesses, and not a single one is good at everything. So to do what we do, which is kind of a lot of discovery and a lot of creativity, you have to use a combination. And again, a lot of iteration to get to where we are right now. And
Yeah.
it's not perfect. It's still not perfect. You've still got to, as you say, we're right in our infancy and things are going to evolve at such a pace. But that's what we're doing to try and kind of make sure we're not doing it wrong.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, I mean, give me a bit of a sneak peek of how you're reducing that like time to production by so significantly.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the way you would do things is, you need physical consumers to build out products. You need to go and understand their lives. You need to go and do consumer research with them. That requires you to do field work. It requires you to hire a whole bunch of consumers to do a whole bunch of stuff. You then need to get into a room and debate and decide and make decisions, the typical workshop, all of that kind of stuff. It all takes tons of time. AI gets rid of all of that, as long as you use it appropriately. And then what our system does is we're not just AI, we're not just an LLM. We call it the Canvas because it organizes all that data into one place, which is why I like to liken it like Salesforce. Salesforce, before Salesforce, you had, Rolodex and black books and, siloed data. That's where innovation is currently. And what Canvas does is it puts it all into one place. It makes it much, much more transparent. So all of the decision makers can make decisions very, very quickly and much more objectively. And then you've got AI to do all the consumer research stuff that used to take months and now takes minutes.
Very, very cool and interesting. So, I saw you worked with companies like Pepsi and some really big,
Yeah.
Fortune 500 brands. Like behind the scenes, I mean, anything interesting going on there? Anything that we as just regular consumers would be surprised to see?
I mean, I just so much, right? I think, well, still the fact by any measure, more than 50% of all innovation fails. More than
Mm,
90% of ideas that are crafted don't even make it anywhere close to market. So there's just this crazy amount of waste going on right now.
right.
So I think everyone probably thinks out there that there's these multi-billion-dollar companies are carefully and methodically crafting something
It's the
slowly to get it
opposite.
to
It's the
market.
opposite. They can
It's
they
total
can
chaos.
they can grind and brute force their way through with inefficiency because they just have these huge budgets. And it's
Exactly.
like they're like pre-allocated. It's like, hey, we have X amount of dollars for R&D. So just, if you don't use it up, we're not going to give it to you next year kind of thing.
It's kind of like that, and then but when they get a hit on their hands, they have such scale that they can take that hit and expand it, and that
Right.
will and you never hear about the stuff that doesn't make it to market. No one's going to tell you about their dirty laundry, right? So so that they cover it up with the big things that do work, and they obviously do come along fairly regularly and
Yeah. That's the
pay all their
benefit of being a
shareholders.
startup. You learn how to be hyper optimized, to do so much with so little.
Yeah.
And you also need to compete with well-established competitors who have full control over the market with years of experience over you. You have to have an extreme competitive edge to even be able to play the game for just a little bit. So when you grow too big, it's true. Sometimes you grow too big to fail, and there's something beautiful about being poor. There's something beautiful about having very little because you learn how to do so much with what you have. And yeah, I mean, you have, the nimble and agile companies growing against the behemoths, the headless beasts still taking their last few steps, or maybe a lot more than the last few steps. But yes, it's certainly an interesting dynamic.
I mean,
So,
I'd say
yeah,
startups are the biggest the best innovators, right? Not the
Yeah.
big guys, because they're fearless, and to your point, you've got to throw everything on the line. So I think that and then the big guys buy them and scale them.
Yeah. But and you mentioned like so your products are your company is allowing MVPs to create these prototypes so cheaply and efficiently. And I wonder, does that like filter through the noise to some capacity? But then does it also start to make noise because now you're just kind of less honed in on a specific project, and you're saying, hey, we don't need to. We don't need to like allocate all our resources in one direction. We can kind of get exploratory here and start doing a whole bunch of stuff. And that can overall dilute the quality of ultimately the product you're going to be pushing to market.
Yeah, I agree. I think when used badly, all this can do is lead to faster failure. Because if I can come up with, before I had the budget and the time to come up with 5 things. Now I have the budget and time to come up with 5,000 things,
Right.
or even more. So I think that's the situation we're in right now, and companies are trying to work out how to think about this. I'm seeing two different things happening. I'm seeing some companies just throwing a whole lot more mud at the wall, and just, by the sheer force of probability, something's going to work. And then we see other companies that are just being much, much more surgical, and smarter. And then I think those second companies are going to win, right? Because then they can take the budget and use it to, go to market much quicker, make much more noise about the stuff that they launch. And ultimately, they're the ones that I think are going to win.
Right. Now, you know, AI seems to be a big focal point of what you're doing. I'm curious to hear your perspective on where you see this industry and specifically your company in the next 10 years.
I mean, it's quite literally the million or billion-dollar question, I suppose. I think where we are with AI is like where we were 25 years ago with the emergence of the digital, the web basically. I don't know if you remember, but in kind of the early 2000s, everyone was building microsites. Like everyone thought that we would just build a microsite for everything. And obviously very, very quickly people realized that just
I have years of experience doing web development. I have to ask out of ignorance, what's a microsite?
a microsite was like every single brand out there would try and build a branded website in the hope that consumers would go to that website.
Oh, like
Because they thought that we
like they'd
like
have
a
a company, but
total.
they'd make a sub website for every. Oh, okay, I see you mean microsite. Okay, got it, got it.
Exactly, and obviously no one really stopped to think to say, why on earth would a consumer go to this place to like learn all about my shampoo or my soft drink? Of course
Right.
not. Like, and I think we're a little bit in that exploratory phase right now. So I think things will calm down. I think the pendulum will swing back so that companies aren't trying to do everything themselves. And I think that we'll settle back into that agency company, expert in kind of client relationship. As to, I mean, 10 years time is a lifetime though. I don't know,
Yeah.
like if you think about what came off, you know, we'll get the new versions of social media that we can't even fathom right now, in the next few years, that are built on top of this AI ecosystem that's being built. So it's very, very hard to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, and Guy, within your company specifically, what are some of the bottlenecks that you're currently facing that if you can kind of solve these problems, it doesn't necessarily have to be internally within the company, maybe bureaucracy, regulations, just technological limitations. Like, what's your current, saying, hey, if I can solve this problem, we'd be explosively even bigger.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're still a small company, so it's about scaling. Frankly, it's
Hmm.
about getting the message out there, and it's about building the internal teams to be able to build what we want to build more quickly. So we've got a long list of what we want to do, and even though there's the tools and capabilities mean that we can do it far cheaper and quicker than ever before, you've still got the human resource bottleneck of being a small business and having to be extraordinarily choiceful in what we do.
Very interesting. So, Guy, how can people get in touch with you?
They can drop me a note. My email, guy@thecatalyx.com. they can go to our website, www.thecatalyx.com, web form there if they want to reach out, and myself or someone else will be in touch.
Wonderful. Guy, it's been an honest pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for your time.
Likewise. Thank you so much.